I think communities are the vehicles to drive success different ways, because in the community you basically share knowledge. You may find your next investor, you may find your next talent, you may find your next inspiration, you may also find your next competitors, right? That's where the community comes along. And being in a community, I think, again, is a very pivotal role and must be prioritized by startup founders.
Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Ready? Oh my god, you ready?
Yes.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today I have in my online studio Sam Eshrati. Am I pronouncing it right, Sam? That's right.
Almost there, Zivile. Thanks
Almost
for
there,
having
so
me.
many
This
years.
is almost 7 years. I think I have one of those um, difficult surnames to pronounce, but if you want to get it right, it's Eshrati.
Eshrati.
Yeah, almost there.
Eshrati.
Yes.
Almost there. Oh my god, so many years, and I was pronouncing it not in the right way.
But I think, at least you tried. I'm
At least I
pleased with
tried. But welcome, Sam. I'm happy to have you at Perception Paradox so much.
Thanks for having me. This is amazing. Well done. I think witnessing this has grown to a level it is now. It's absolutely amazing job, Zivile. And I'm really
Thank
happy to be
you.
part of it. And you've done incredible work around this.
Well, it's still early steps, but I'm working there. So for the ones who don't know, well, to begin with, Sam and we met quite some years ago through TechBBQ, where I volunteered, then I joined to work there, and we were great colleagues, I would say. We
I think
got
we're
along
still
really well.
great
We're
friends
still
and great
colleagues.
colleagues, different
Yes, I
different
think so.
ways, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Well, let's say more full time, but we're still in touch. We still keep engaging with each other when we are another supporting. And Sam is still with TechBBQ as a COO, and at the same time also started embracing his investment journey. If I'm navigating it right, maybe you can tell me more, Sam, what you've been
Yeah.
up to lately.
So my personal story started from around 8 years ago when my partner, back then we had one dog who Givil knows very well, Goofy, to Denmark from London, and I had a professional career being as an operator of a well-known company in the UK and moved to Denmark with my partner. Joined TechBBQ more or less around the same time Givil was part of it, and of course, I have a dual responsibility in the organization, which is operating a 31 people organization and also chief engagement officer, which is basically engaging with the relevant people from global ecosystems and global tech communities, basically startup tech communities. And you're right, started doing started my path into investments through a couple of different kind of funds, especially Ada Ventures, which has been the latest one, and also Scout and being involved with different startups, basically.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. I'm so happy to see your journey and also to, yeah, I don't know, to grow together in a way. But right now, for you, Sam is one of the best networkers I've ever met, I think. He's always out there. He always remembers people. He always tries to connect communities. Sam, how do you remember people names?
Uh, to be honest, it's a very hard game. I'm not I can't say I know everybody 100%,
Mm-hmm.
but at least my method of networking and connecting with people is basically getting to know their personal stories first. It's interesting for me to what line of business are you in, and what's the outcome of your professional, and what sort of community you're running. But personal stories are more important for me than anything else. And the first thing I ask people, who are you as a person, and where do you live, and who are you connected with in terms of what do you do, and what impact are you creating for this little planet we are all in. Remembering names, it's a priority for me because that's where I connect with people and remembering them, but it's more actually who has the better story to share and creating a bigger impact to the society.
Talking about stories, then what's your story? I do recall you being in architecture and then
Oh
going
yeah.
into finance and then moving to Denmark, then moving back to UK. So what would be your story for what people should know about you?
Um, I'm coming from this is not actually something I've shared openly with people, but I'm coming, of course, like many other people. I'm coming from an immigrant background, and personal story. I grew up without parents, which is very private, but I don't mind sharing with other people to inspire people. My mom and dad, passed away when I was little, and my older sister raised me, and she was my mom and dad to me, and to my older brother as well. Grew up, um, kind of, decided to take a very odd journey of life and be the one to be, inspired by freedom. I chose to go to a country which it wasn't recognized globally, and that is Northern Cyprus. And I finished my education in Northern Cyprus in architecture in an American university based in Northern Cyprus. And then when I went back to the UK, I realized actually that country wasn't recognized. So the degree I spent a couple of 100,000 to get in Cyprus, it wasn't relevant to what I wanted to pursue for the rest of my life. And then, financial circumstances led me to join another industry because I just wanted to get to the labor market. When I got to labor market, and as somebody who wants to pursue a life, I excel at it, and I joined the organization. Back then, we had around 15 to 20 employees, and then led to be around 400 when I left, and I was part of scaling this amazing organization, and they were all over the news a couple of years. And I decided, by the time it's 7 years gone, I realized that, what, I think I need something else in my career and my journey, and I should do something else towards my family business, which they were all into finance. And finance was my second calling. I got to finance. I got a qualification in CIMA, which is Chartered Management Accounting, is globally known education. And after that, I just, you know, I thought, what, this is cool. I'm loving everything. I will continue to do finance for family and also operating at that amazing company. So the time came, and we decided to move to Denmark and join in my family. And my partner got a job in Denmark. We decided to move, and back then I was just a fantastic house husband. I decided to stay home for a couple of months, but decided to join kind of a startup ecosystem in Denmark, that's TechBBQ, and the rest is history. We all
It's the
know some of
history.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you be still with them in different roles, different impact, and now
Different
your
capacity, different roles,
capacity,
and
yeah.
when I of course I knew a lot about operation. I knew a lot, hiring and being part of a scaling organization when I joined TechBBQ. But in Denmark, still it was so brand new ecosystem for me, and a labor market. And
Hmm.
Denmark versus the UK have completely different offering and different uh, demographic of working culture. And moving to Denmark, it was a big hit for me because UK versus Denmark has complete different offering. You're talking about the hierarchical structure in the UK, which the top management dictates and everybody follows, versus Denmark is a flat structure and the decisions made in the common rooms. Versus in the UK, closed doors decisions are made and being implemented across the organizations. So completely, that took me a year or two to understand the leadership demographic and leadership method in the Nordics, especially the Danish leadership, which is quite open and quite holistic
And
across the
transparent.
transparent across the organization. Versus, I was part of decision making process, which it was like we decide and everybody else needs to follow. So that actually embedded to new routes of communication. And of course, I must say, there were a couple of pitfalls and humps on the road because, I may have came in with that Anglo-Saxon model versus a Nordic flat model, right? So it was a tough structure, I must say.
How did you manage to open up yourself to learning this new structure? Because when something is rooted in our blood, it's so difficult to change it. And especially, I know I'm aware. I have never worked actually in the UK, but I did work with British companies or
Yeah.
some filials, and I do recall like that they were making decisions very different than, for example, for instance, in Denmark.
Um, of course, as I said, there were a couple of hiccups, down the road, but it didn't come with not upsetting anybody or losing fantastic employees. And I must say, I might take some of the responsibilities because I was quite agile in the system of kind of leadership at the beginning of my journey in Denmark. But of course, by the time I educated myself, I got to talk to many people, and then I realized actually there's a difference on what I need to do, and some of them came with the hard exercises and paying a hard way and paying the price of losing people at some point. But yeah, it was all about experiences and talking to people and getting to educate myself. And I'm not there yet still, I have way long way to get there to be an amazing leader like many others you know
You sound very
uh
humble.
no like I have of course very different ways of
Yeah.
learning how to manage and lead people.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And you've been changing a lot, or your everything was a lot of like ups and downs and challenges in life. Where did you find your courage to actually go for it and pursue, give it a try, rather than actually falling for the fear and being closed in your bubble and your fears?
uh this is very deep and it becomes a but of course family, my partner to start with, had a pivotal role in my life journey, and the encouragement came from our family first, and sacrifices that my family made to help me to excel and to be on the path I am to start with. That's a primary factor in my opinion. Um, but of course, sacrifices was made from my side as well personally, and that's like not being scared of giving my personal time and personal life, and sacrificing a lot of uh, different things which may have removed time from my family as well. That's one of the reasons, like not being afraid of giving some time to what you want to achieve. Not everything is given, and you need to fight for what you want to achieve in different ways. And if you talk to many amazing entrepreneurs who scale and to a company to a next level, they didn't have an easy life. Some of them, they may gone through significant roller coasters and significant pitfalls in their life and achieved what they wanted to achieve. So nothing has been given, and is not me preaching or to becoming so philosophical about this, but nothing is easy, and I feel
Mm.
like everybody needs to work hard, and including me, and changing countries a few times and changing industry a few times. I needed to actually navigate through this and work harder to see which one is my calling, basically.
Do you think you found your calling?
Um, I think by nature humans are not satisfied with what they have,
Mm-hmm.
right? By nature, like you find me a person who is like 100% happy with what they have. Like you to every level you go, you want to look up, and by nature that's what's embedded in human blood, right? uh I think at the moment I'm pretty happy because what's happening around Denmark, and I'm travel a lot. When I compare, as you said, I had to stop back in the UK, went to London, and I realized actually it's not the place I want to live in for the rest of my life, and then we moved back to Denmark. uh I think what we have achieved as an organization, as in our company, that's definitely it's a brilliant path to be, and
Yeah.
I'm really delighted to have been part of this amazing growth journey. But going back to what you asked, certainly, I think I'm at this stage. I'm very happy, especially living in a
So happy
country
to hear that.
which we are, as a human, we are equal.
Yeah, totally. And talking about the startup ecosystem and startup scene, you've been now actively involved for quite some years, right? It's been what, 7 years at least, and your previous experiences, and we have witnessed the huge growth and importance of communities. What would you define community is, and what is the role of it right now in the startup scene? Because you're also actively involved in different communities. You also talk a lot about that, and I feel like you have some interesting angles to touch base on.
Um, Communities, in my opinion, are the vehicle for success of companies, right? And I think communities, small or big, at this scale, doesn't matter what size are we talking about. I think communities are the vehicles to drive success different ways, because in the community you basically share knowledge. You may find your next investor, you may find your next talent, you may find your next inspiration, you may also find your next competitors, right? That's where the community comes along. And being in a community, I think, again, is a very pivotal role and must be prioritized by startup founders, because you shouldn't continue working in silos, and you shouldn't just exclude yourself and your journey from the community. And community is all about engagement and unity, right? And unifying the missions and unifying the journeys in different ways. So in my opinion, communities are playing a pivotal role, and we all, yourself and many others in your networks, are part of different communities. And once or twice or three times a year, everybody gathers in this amazing, uh, you know, tech events, startup events globally,
Mm.
and we communicate where are you going to be next, and we share journey, and it feels like when we are all together, we are part of a one giant family
Mm.
globally.
Totally.
And if you look at some of these community builders, community players help each other to scale to different countries, different ecosystems, as well as maybe connecting them to what communities can offer. Investments, founders, journey, and also talent, and everything else follows, right? So community is actually playing a pivotal role in startup ecosystems, in my
Mm. But then how do you see, okay, so we just mentioned some buzzwords, right? We mentioned tech events, we mentioned community, we mentioned network. How do you see them interacting with each other? For example, the way I would see that tech events are part of the communities, right? Some kind of community-driven initiative might be wrong. I'm curious to see, how do you see this triangle collaborating, working, or is it just one circle?
I think tech events and the startup events giving a purpose for community gatherings, right?
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, it would be very difficult for you to identify where to go next. You may have a virtual connection, virtual formats like what we did in 2022 and 2021 when during pandemic.
Mm.
But I think global ecosystems and the communities such as like tech brands and tech events, it gives a purpose to people to travel for to meet the communities, right? Everybody's excited to share news with each other while they meet. With that being said, of course, what we have witnessed, of course, the local communities are on rise, and we have so many amazing events and gatherings. I think what I've witnessed, communities are becoming a bit more niche and in a smaller bubbles, and diverted by industries. One thing as a community we still shouldn't neglect the global community, which we are all in, despite where we stand and which geographical countries we are
Yeah.
in at the moment.
We still should synchronize, right? We shouldn't be just, again, closed down in our small bubbles. So a lot of people who are into the startup scene get confused, or who are just entering, about the amount of events available in the market. Yourself being traveled so much across different events in Europe, outside Europe, also organizing as well one in Denmark. What would be those few key pillars for a successful event where operators can actually meet, engage knowledge, and how can people choose where to go?
I think assessing the value proposition of those gatherings as an event, as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
is important. Like, what is the purpose of that gathering? Who are in the network, despite the levels of the companies and the titles, how important that person is. But some people are more interesting with, let's say, let's use a factor. which is like number of LinkedIn followers, let's say, call it, right? That's a factor which you can visualize the importance of that person. Somebody with 200,000 followers, somebody with 1,000. Sometimes actually people with less engaged portfolios, profiles, they are more interesting. So have those factored lines in shape, like why are you attending and who is your main audience? And that will give you a pillar to understand, okay, is this a relevant community, relevant gathering for me as a networker? And is that correlates to my line of work and the value I can bring back to the organization or the community I'm part of, right? And if we can assess that, and if we can find synergies between the value offering and what you're looking for, then there is a match. And you can definitely be, you need to, or you should make sure you're part of that ecosystem and part of that community,
Yeah.
and engage, and don't forget to give something back to that community. I don't know if I answered it right.
There is no right or wrong, right? It's
Yeah.
just expressing ourselves in the present moment, and right now that's how we see it. What's your still favorite part of going to events? Because we meet each other in so many different events. It's always, and you even flying. Oh my goodness, really a lot. So it takes a lot of energy. It's quite tiring. But why? What's your favorite part about that? Why you do that?
I think again, why I do go to events is more figuring out which part of that event can correlate and can, be relevant to what I do. Networking and meeting people are precious, and getting to know people are precious,
Yeah.
of course, and exchanging some thoughts and energy is absolutely amazing. But it's what part of that sacrificing. I must say, actually, it sounds very glamorous from outside, people traveling and being in different countries. But you need to remember, you're sacrificing your health because you don't have a routine. You're sacrificing some family time because you may actually take flights outside of the working hours. There won't be, or maybe actually going to events, you are going to sacrifice being distance from your family and your friends, and maybe because the work wouldn't stop, right? The work would continue. Your inbox would continue building up. Going to events is actually an add-on to your daily operation, because you need to work continuously. Going to events is not your role specifically, right? So you have responsibilities and duties and tasks and KPIs, and events are part of that, and going to communities. So I think in general, I must say, I personally feel like if I go to these events, I need to have a tangible outcome. When I come back, I evaluate, what did I get out of this? Was it successful, or do I see a pipeline going further back? And then in the future, sorry. If I see a pipeline, if I see a relevance here, I definitely continue going and be part of that crowd and part of that community. If I see actually I didn't gain anything out of that, I may actually reflect on that and then not go back to that ecosystem, community, or event.
So usually
But
what?
usually
Yeah.
it's more making sure I have tangible outcome from everything I do.
Okay, so basically, you, all the time before the event, you do your homework, you see who is attending, you set your measurements, KPIs, how many people whom you should talk to, and see then what outcome you have based on the role you're
Exactly.
holding, right? It can be scouting,
Exactly.
it can be tech event, it can be many
Certainly.
different.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about scouting, you mentioned already that you've got back more into investment, scouting. What made you come back to this world of the finance?
Uh, and I was honored to kind of be part of this at the other hat at the moment, and that's of course the investment community as well. And I actually use the same amount of time and the process to be part of that. And as you know, it was the application process. I
Yeah.
kind of joined, and I built a good argument, in my opinion, to see why I should be part of that community now. And I think, I'd reached to a level, the network is brilliant, and what I can do above and beyond to help founders and a startup community. And that's, of course, one of the biggest conversation, we have access to capital, right? With the network, with the connections I may have built, access to capital could be a good add-on to the founder's journey. And it might be small or large, but what the individual could gain outside of these investment is actually access to those networks and future clients and future talent, or giving some time to build a company with them. That's why I thought it would be relevant for me to join the investment community as well, giving above and beyond just networking and meeting people, and be on that journey with them too.
Yeah, so many people from so many different angles. That's insane. And do you have some specific vertical you're more drawn to when it comes to scouting and investments?
To be honest, I may have been quite. I may have underestimated the amount of time goes to do these things,
Okay.
and I haven't had the time yet to sit down and wrap my head around it. And again, that's probably goes to my personal time. I need to commit weekends and evenings, but yet I haven't had that time. But I'm really, really passionate about biotech and longevity, because biohacking is definitely something I would love to look at. One of the things we are doing very good, and I'm personally suffer from some of this reflection in my life, that is lack of sleep and, aging quite faster than the others perhaps. And I think getting to a level I can join one of the startup journey, eventually like seeing what they are doing to revolutionize the aging and the biohacking human aging, that's something I would like to look at, and being part of, you know, seeing what's happening there, and of course creating bigger impact on human health um, through different platforms. And of course, our responsibilities are still there to keep this little planet, planet A, alive and kicking. I would love to be part of the impactful startups journey as well. That's the other hat I would love to, or the other kind of, angle I would love to zoom in. And I think, economical sustainability is something I would love to also, not fintech, but it's something actually can bring diversity in distribution of the wealth globally, is something I would love to look at as well, because we see there's a lot of paradigms like where are we in globally, but distribution of wealth, I still feel it's unbalanced.
Okay. Quite a lot of hats you want to wear right now. So first, I think number one thing, sleep is the essence for longevity and for having the time for that, I guess. But that's super exciting. But then talking about that you're still wearing this very, right now, important hat because we're really not far away from the event you are all organizing together with the great team, right? Where do you see we are heading right now with the technology events? Just after COVID, we had a lot of rumors and conversations that events might lose their relevance and might move fully digital and or become way smaller community events. What we've noticed from TechBBQ, right, it's been exponentially growing, expanding, and gaining more and more relevance in the market and in the region, and not only in the region actually, but globally. What would be your learning so far, and where do you see that where we're heading with all the technology events?
Uh, Good reflection. I think, to be honest, we had different assumptions back then when COVID happened, and everybody thought, this is it, end of era of, large gatherings.
Yeah.
But if you witness what has happened in the tech community and the startup community and gatherings, large gatherings, some may have disappeared during that period, but new ones actually were born as well,
Mm-hmm.
and some came back stronger. You name TechBBQ. I feel like maybe actually COVID was a good excuse for us to ramp up, right? So I think globally we will see some new people, new communities, new tech and startup events giving birth to the niche country and niche industries they are in. That doesn't necessarily would exclude or include the new or like kind of peop events that were formerly there. Uh, but in my opinion, I think tech and startup events will continue growing because it's a very important essence of a human being, in-person connections. and being part of this community, as you mentioned, is a very important factor for our daily life. So we will continue as a startup and tech event, we will continue to thrive unless there is another big factor, such as pandemic, which may pose the growth.
Mm.
And I hope we won't be part of that any time in our lifetime for foreseeable future. But the growth is not, in my opinion, the growth is not the element of measure here. Like we grow bigger and then we have more number of people. The
Mm-hmm.
staying relevance should be the 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 big factor to measure growth and success.
Yeah, I'm always curious about founders and their role in the tech events, right? So, kind of sometimes after talking with some founders, I heard two different opinions, right? Like some of them, yes, we're gonna go to the technology events, we're gonna do the pitching, and then there is another half of founders, no, we're just gonna keep building the product, etc. So, from your experience, what kind of value do you see for founders who are coming for events and who are joining the different pitch competitions, etc.? Maybe have some cases to share where some pitch competition helped to skyrocket.
I think it's a good balance, right?
Uh-huh.
If you become a PR founder, which is you are only looking for publicity and your branding, you're actually not doing good for your company. You should continue to have a good balance, in my opinion. And tech events can be quite misleading for successful, amazing founders because they are the one actually going on the pedestal and becoming the global brand from there. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should not prioritizing them because, as I said at the beginning, this is a platform for you to find your next clients, to engage with the new talent, and actually be inspired by many other people's journey. So it's a good balance. And in my opinion, early stage startups, they should prioritize going to community and events because they need the inspiration, they need bouncing ideas, as well as kind of focusing on the growth of the company and the founder's journey. And as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you are coming in with the hat and with the perspective of you need to sacrifice your own time and your family time. So you need to go in 100%. You may need to work on your product 8 hours a day, but at the same time, you may need to contribute to communities and events for 5 hours during a short period as well, right? So it's a good balance. Therefore, as a person who is in the community, I would encourage early stage founders to be part of that community, go to events and engage with a lot of people. And the later stage founders, they should continue branding themselves for finding the ways to find the future clients and maybe next stage exit plans or next stage funding plans as well. So, but there is a risk with the later stage founders not this becoming your only job, day-to-day job, personal branding.
How important it is to founders to go to the conference to fundraise?
I mean, we all hear stories, right? We had
Mm-hmm.
a couple of stories at TechBBQ, but the conversation may have started prior to TechBBQ, and they found TechBBQ to a meeting up place, right? So, but tech events, I would actually say, they are very important to initiate the first conversation or find a future partner for your journey, but not essentially the place, in my opinion. It's a tool, it's a vehicle, and it might be a good opener, but not necessarily the place, because in the area of digitalization, you can find cold outreach to your future investment or future investor.
I think it sometimes loses since we expect that the processes are faster and that it's enough one to show up in one place and everything will be
Yeah,
done, but which is not the case. Nicely
it's not the
put.
one. It's not the one perfect way to fundraise,
Yeah,
and
100%.
you shouldn't exclude all the channels.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you have on the top of your mind about networks, communities, investments that you wanted to share with the audience?
Um, Not per se. I think we covered everything, but again, my key message to people
Mm-hmm.
who are your listeners would be uh, everything comes with a price, and networking, engagement, and joining entrepreneurial journey, it comes with sacrifices, and that can be your personal time. So be brave and embrace and buckle up to give up some time from yourself and your family if it's required. And to extend not to sacrifice your family because they are the only one around you forever.
Okay, that seems like we're kind of had this great closing message from Sam, who just shared his experience. And yeah, well, if you want to achieve big things, you need to do some sacrifications and find what are you willing to sacrifice for that. But yeah.
Thanks for having me, Zivile.
Thank you so much, Sam, for joining, and really happy that you found time. And yeah, I guess till next time. It was Sam and Zivile and Perception Paradox, and have a great day anywhere you are. Thank you, Sam.
Hey.
Yay!